are some really great things that I'm going to be making today. So we have here a tomato tart, and we also have an asparagus tart. So I'm actually going to get started right away. I'm going to put you right up here. Hopefully you can see exactly what I'm doing, but it's not a problem because I can lift these things up and show you. So I have two of our mini Flexi Flats that I'm actually using, but I'm going to make one large tart, and I'm going to make the large tart in the larger size Flexi Flat. So I'm going to grab my dough, get that out for you. It's important when you use pastry dough that you actually leave it in the refrigerator all the way until the time that you're actually going to use it. And one thing that I want to share with you is I love this Wiwalka because it's fresh pastry, puff pastry. And the funny thing about puff pastry is a lot of times you'll buy it in the store, but in the store, the puff pastry, so many times the puff pastry has been frozen for a really long time. And because it's frozen for so long, when you unfold it, those cracks break, then you try to put them back together, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we want to use puff pastry. I like to use the fresh because look at how beautiful this is behind here. I'm going to show you how you can do this in such a simple fashion. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'll just move things around a little bit. I'm really sorry about that technology today, but Facebook changed some settings I was unaware of. You know, I do this every week, so it's never a problem. But I'm just going to move this stuff around so I can bring everything to you. So we have our roll pat, and the roll pat is such a fantastic pastry mat, and the reason that it's so great is that nothing sticks to the roll pat. So we're going to actually, we're going to roll this out. You can see the dough here. So see how easy this is because it's fresh? I have total control of what's going on here. And we're just going to set that down. And I'm going to roll it back. And quite honestly, with puff pastry, the puff pastry is already made, and it's not, you don't have to roll it a lot. I can pull that paper right off of there, and I just throw that out. I'm going to turn it back on this proper side here. And what I'm going to do is take my rolling pin, and I'm going to just gently roll. I know my grandson Duke loves puff pastry because we make pommiers, and one day he promised me he's going to come and we're going to make them together with all of you. So we just want to roll it a couple times each way. And then we're going to take our tray. I'm going to literally pick this right up. I'm going to lay it over my arm here. How many puff pastries can you do that with for picking that up like that, right? It's amazing. So we have our puff pastry. I'm going to stretch this out a little bit so it goes all the way through to the end. And I want to pull it up so it comes up on the side. And puff pastry is really quite forgiving. You can literally pull it up. It turns out really nice if you just pull it up on the sides. And I'm going to share with you what I like to do in order to make a great tomato tart. So we're going to make a tomato tart, but I also made an asparagus tart that I want to tell you about. But it's not just asparagus or tomatoes. There's so many things. Think of it like this. You could do cheese on the bottom and bake it, and you could put your salad on top and then do some grilled chicken or something like that. But what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to fold in. I want to make sure that you can see this. I'm going to fold in this corner right here, and I kind of pinch that. Then I'm going to fold in each one of the corners, and I'm just going to pinch them in. And this is not the baker's way. This is my way. So I'm just sharing with you my way. I can authentically say that I do this and it works. So I see I have a little bit extra here. So what I can do is like pull down from this side. What we want to do is make a little bit of a square, like a tray of the puff pastry. I'm going to fold this down. Then I'm just going to pinch like I'm going to do every other finger like that. I'm going to pinch it down just to make a little, a really nice edge on that. Can you see that? So I'm going to do that on the other end too. We've already got one there. Then I'm going to, and don't worry if it's not all even, because honestly, once you bake this, you cannot tell. I mean, it's pretty covered up, but I do like to take the sides and I like to push them down too. So I'm just making a double crust right there, because if there's any liquid, I want to make sure that it stays inside. And it also comes very, I'm going to show you in a second how nicely this comes together. And actually when you cook it, it's really crispy and so beautiful and nice. You can always pull your dough up a little bit if you want to, or if you need to. You don't have to, but if you need to, you can do that too. So this isn't perfect, but it's perfectly fine. Now, this is one thing that I think is really important to learn, and I'm going to share with you. I'm just going to take a butter knife, actually. You could take our cake server knife as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a rectangle almost to the end, like 2 inches from the end. I'm going to tell you why I'm doing that. I'm going to do that all the way across the top, and I'm going to do it down each one of the sides. So you can see right now, I have the puff pastry, and the puff pastry has a line around it that I have drawn. The reason that I have done that is that I want the outside of this to puff up, and I want the middle of it to stay straight. So in order for that to happen, I'm going to take this little fork right here. You could take any fork. You could take a scoring piece if you have that. And I'm going to just pick all the way down this crust to get some air in there so it doesn't puff up and then not have any control over what it's making. So I do this down. I generally do from corner to corner. I make an X, then I go through the middle. Then I do the same thing along the side. And I like to make things in patterns. I used to make everything in flowers. Now I changed my mind. I do something a little bit different. I don't know what I would call it though, but it's a lot of fun. So this does not have to be perfect, but if you don't want the middle of it to puff up and then have all of the juice underneath, you must do this to keep it under control in the oven. So we just poke around the entire inside of it. We do not poke around the outside of it. So the next thing we're going to do, I have 1 egg yolk right here. I'm sorry I didn't put this in the ingredients, but it does go in. So we have 1 egg yolk, and the egg yolk, I'm going to take the egg yolk with the pastry brush here, and I'm going to brush along the sides. And you want to make sure as you brush that you get all of the sides. 1 egg yolk is all you need, and it's not a lot of egg. Trying to get my phone to stay still there for you. But I'm going to brush all the way up to the line, the rectangular line that I made around the puff pastry. Oh, we have Antonio from Italy. Welcome. We have people from all across the U.S. I can see my nephew's wife is here. Cece, glad to have you on as well. Okay, so we're just going to brush along the side. And remember, start thinking about what kind of ingredients you would like to put on top. Because honestly, the puff pastry, the best thing about it is it's a container of greatness for whatever you have in your refrigerator. So do know that it works with just about anything you put on here. The creation is only thing that stops it is your amount of imagination and the ingredients that you have in your refrigerator. So we can see that we have this all set. Now, a lot of people want you to pre-bake this. But I tried it both ways, and I did not pre-bake these. And look at how beautiful they are underneath. I don't need to pre-bake this because I wanted my tomatoes cooked along with the puff pastry, because this is the way that I believe that we're going to get the best texture and the best taste. So you don't only want to think about taste. You can have great taste in a recipe, but if the texture is really bad or really gooey, no one's going to enjoy it. So we want to make sure that people do enjoy it. So the next thing I'm going to take is Parmesan. The reason I'm using Parmesan is because I have a lot of it in my refrigerator from some previous classes I did, and I bought too much. I bought extra. I thought I would use it. I haven't used all of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line this with a shaved Parm. Being that this is going to cook in the oven for about 25 minutes, a shaved Parmesan is fine. A shredded is fine. And you could use any kind of cheese. You could use Gruyere. You could use fresh mozzarella. You could use regular mozzarella. You could use a Gouda. You could use any type of cheese, whatever you like, what your cheese preference is, or get out of your comfort zone and try something new. There's nothing wrong with that either. So you can see we're just right here. I'm so sorry for the technology today, but hey, we're doing this anyway. When I get ready for something, I have to do it. Of course, I have to do it. Okay. So we can see this looks really beautiful. I love this time of year, and every time of year. I always use vine ripe tomatoes, but I usually enjoy them when they're vine ripe from my garden, right out and back. But this time of year, the tomatoes are not readily available. I'm just gonna wash these. I didn't wash them with the vine, but I'm gonna wash them now again. So the tomatoes, you want to get tomatoes that are not overly ripe, because remember, you're going to bake them, but hey, whatever tomatoes you have are absolutely fine as well. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to just slice my tomatoes. I've got my knife here. I'm going to move the pastry out of my way for a minute. We're just going to allow that to set. And I'm going to set this right here so you can continue to watch what I'm doing. So I'm going to slice my tomatoes, not too thin and not too thick, but I do want them to be consistent. The reason I want consistency is because I want all of them to be cooked the same amount. So you can get that consistency when you try and slice it the right way. You could also use the mandolin, which is fabulous for doing this, but I know all of you that want to bake along with the recipe may not have a mandolin, but everyone has a knife and a cutting board. So we're just going to continue here. Slice this right down here. And you know what? It's not about being perfect. You may even have to cut some of these in half, depending on how the tomato is shaped and how it fits onto your pastry dough. Next, I'm going to take a bowl. I've got it all ready here. And I have two things that I'm going to do. I'm going to take a little bit of Parmesan, pesto Parmesan oil. It's a blended oil that we have, which is really great. I'm just going to put a little bit of this in here because I'll tell you the truth, I made a mistake today and I was filling my pesto Parmesan oil up and I actually was putting it into my balsamic, which is okay because I'm going to use them both. So I've got the oil and balsamic both in here. So I'm going to mix this up a bit. Okay, so this is looking really good. Remember that we're also going to put in some salt. I've got some really nice garlic salt here. This is our bond salt, our flake salt, and this is all laced with fresh garlic. It's actually dried garlic, but not the powder. It's the actual pieces of garlic. This is really nice. In addition, you can see garlic in here. See that? I'm going to also put in the zesty Mediterranean herb blend. And this herb blend is fabulous. It's got a little bit of a kick to it, and people love it because it just adds a little, it honors the taste of the tomato that tastes really good. So I'm going to put some of that in. And then I'm going to take my spoon here. I'm just going to mix them up. You're definitely not going to stir them because you want to keep the integrity of your tomato, correct? Turn it this way. If you have some stuck on some of the tomatoes, you can always, you know, take it off and kind of get it on the other tomatoes. It's great. This looks really good. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my crust back. You know what I love about doing this? It honestly makes me feel like I really know what I'm doing, and I'm doing such a great job because it looks so pretty. And then when you get them out of the oven and they actually taste really good, it's wow, what a blessing. So we're just going to start from the corner here. And don't worry if we run out of tomatoes, we've got more right here. You can see just lining this up. Wow, it smells so good. It looks so lovely. Just it's really, really nice. I mean, this is not gourmet pizza. This is just gourmet anything. It could be considered pizza. I'm sorry, those people in Italy watching, you might not think that, but I think it could be. Okay, so I'm going to take one more tomato because I'd like to line along the sides here, and I'm going to just slice this tomato as well. I've got some liquid, some oil and some balsamic left in my bowl. So I think probably about 5 slices is going to be good. So I'm just slicing them up right now. Okay, so we're going to put those back in here. I'm going to take a little bit more salt just to make sure. A little bit of zesty Mediterranean. Yum, yum, yum. It's got some oil in it as well. And some nice garlic. This has dried garlic in it, which is really nice. The flavors that come together with the zesty Mediterranean are absolutely amazing. So we're just going to put these, down here. And the last two, I'm actually going to slice in half, because I like to make sure that we have this lined up correctly. Here, here, and here. So it's that easy. And do know that, think of the tart as a container for whatever food you'd like to make. So this can be your container for asparagus, it can be for zucchini, it can be for any vegetables that you really love. So stop and think about fruits. Even frozen fruits could be for frozen fruits, and you could make a berry tart. But tarts are basically the combination of fresh ingredients with a form of pastry. Really, really great. And do know that tomato comes from the English version of the word, and tomato comes from the British version of the word. So it's pretty interesting. We're going to just put this extra. I don't never like to waste the ingredients I have in my bowl, because this is where all the yum comes in. So you can see that, wow, this looks so good. Then I'm going to show you a little bit about how to serve this. You know, how does that happen? So I'm just going to wipe my hands. And I'm coming back. Hopefully you can all still see what's going on here. So we have our tomato tart. Can everyone see that? Your tomato tart. Wow, those of you that are baking at home, wow, are you so excited to get this in the oven? I can believe that you probably really are excited about that. So I'm actually going to stick this one in the oven. It's going to bake for about 25 minutes on 400 degrees, and it's going to come out just being beautiful. So what I'd like to show you is actually, I have a cocktail. You know, I usually do the cocktail in the beginning of my class, but because I had some technical difficulties, I could not do that. But I'm going to stop for a second and show you a nice cocktail that will go along really well with this. And the cocktail is, I'll get something to stand this phone against. Okay. So the cocktail is Amaretto Sour. This is another one of my husband and I's date drinks for all of our life together. Is that amazing? Usually as an after dinner drink after a nice dinner. But what we're going to make today is an Amaretto Sour. So I have my carafe here, and I'm going to put in 1.5 ounces of Di Serono Amaretto. And I will say that if you don't use Di Serono, you may not like the drink as much, because Di Serono is absolutely the best. The next thing is some simple syrup. Really nice for making drinks, but also nice for making cakes as well. A lot of people use it in cakes after they've made like a pound cake, soak it in that. So we're just stirring this up. The next thing we're using is 1/2 of a lemon. And I'm gonna squeeze it right in here. I love this citrus press because no seeds come along with squeezing the lemon. It's perfect. Got that right out. So you might be wondering, what do I do with the cocktails after live at 5? I save them and give them to Tony. Give it to Tony when he comes home. So he gets home about an hour or two after. So we're just pouring up our wonderful drink. And the trick, I believe, to the best Amaretto is actually squeezing some lime right on the top and maybe rimming the glass with that. There we go. Cheers. It's lovely. It's tangy and fresh, refreshing, and tastes really good. So the next thing I'm going to show you is how we would actually serve the tomato tart, because yours is going to be coming out of the oven pretty soon. If you haven't made it yet, I'm sure you're going to be making it pretty soon. So we'll take the tomato tart first, and because I'm on a board here, I can just put this right on my board. Clean pan, love that. And I'm going to take my knife, or actually I'm going to use the scissors. So to make the to make this look really nice, I like to do this. I cut down the middle. You can see this is so crispy and beautiful. Then I'm going to cut across. I'm going to make 3. And then I'm going to do diagonal cut across. And then I'm going to go across again to make small little triangle pieces. If you would like larger triangle pieces, you could certainly do that too. So I can just take these pieces and place them on my plate. This one's pretty tiny, but it's okay. If you want to serve this as finger food, you have it right here. Very, very simple, no fuss, no mess. So let's say you didn't want to serve it as finger food and you wanted to serve it another way. I'm going to show you how you can actually serve it like this. Put the ends on the end. Here we go. And here we go. And here we go. And now we have something absolutely beautiful to serve for anyone. But there's one thing we have forgotten, and that is our basil. You definitely want to take that basil and you want to chop up the basil. And usually when I use basil, I chop up my basil with the scissors. So if I take the basil like this, I'm just going to, I'm going to cut it halfway in. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. You know, basil's really frail and fragile, but it's okay, because then I can actually put it in here. It's already partially cut, and I can just take these scissors and continue cutting the basil so that I have the right size of basil. They don't have to be uniform. This is not a uniform item. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to be cut, because if it's not cut, it's not going to look nice. And I don't believe basil in this dish. If you bake the basil on your tart, it does nothing for the tart. But if you put fresh basil like this on it, this does everything for your tart. And then you just play around with it so you can actually sprinkle it really nice, get your basil in there, just get a really nice taste here. I'm just thinking about how good this is going to taste. It smells so good, and the one in the oven smells great. So, if you wanted to do, also we could put this one in the middle here. If you wanted to do the asparagus tart, I'm going to show you that you do that the exact same way. There you go. You also might want to take some of the basil, shake this up. I don't have my spoon here, so I'm going to use my cap. The cap gives me really good control also. And I'm going to just go across like this. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can. I'll do it one more time and hold the plate up. See that? Oops, it wants to fall off. Okay, so I'm just basically letting the balsamic fall as it must. And you can see we have a very beautiful tomato tart. And think about that. This took absolutely no time. It took me about 10 minutes to put 2 tarts together, 2 of the mini tarts, and then they bake for 25 minutes. So in no time at all, you can absolutely have the most gourmet looking meal without a lot of fuss and without a lot of work, and even without a lot of ingredients. So I hope that you all enjoyed that. The next one is the asparagus tart. I did the exact same thing. I brushed just egg yolk around the edge of the tart. I put cheese in the middle of the tart, and I scored the middle of the tart so it didn't puff up and make it a bad environment for everything on it. And then I just laid the asparagus across, and it gave me this absolutely gorgeous asparagus tart. So you can see the reason I don't pre-cook it is because the asparagus and the pastry would be cooked too much if you cook it for another 25 minutes. And if you don't cook it for that long, all of the ingredients don't marry together. So it's really important that you get everything to marry together. And I just want to thank everyone for coming on and being on Live at 5 today. I'm so sorry about my technical problems. But, you know, I made this food for you, so I was bound and determined some way or another we were definitely going to get together today. And I just thank everyone for coming along and being a part of this great Live at 5 event. And next week, if you've got an idea of what you'd like to see, send me something in our direct message. But with that being said, thank you so much, everyone. Hope you have a lovely day. Cheers to you and to many more cooking lessons together. Bon appetit.